What's going on, good people? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. And today I'm going over an update for my domain Monarchs list. Now, people were asking for an update literally just because Stormforce came off. And the funny thing is, like, what most people have been doing for updating their deck profile is they literally just put 2 Stormforce in, and that's all that's changed. So I thought it just really tickled me, like, a lot. That I was like, really, bro? So you want to see the same exact deck profile that I showed you just with 2 Stormforce? Is that really much of an update? So I decided to really update the deck and actually make some modifications. You guys have to check out all the ways I've done, all the different variations I've done with Monarchs, because I love to experiment with this deck. I feel that there's too many ways for it to be played for you to just consider that there's only one way to play it and that's the correct way and every other way is incorrect. I just really think Monarchs are very flexible, and you don't have to play Domain. They're just a really strong deck, you guys. I mean, before they even got the structure deck with Erebus and Aether and all those new spells and traps, they were already a meta deck. Like, Frog Monarchs was a meta deck. If you were around in that time frame, they were actually a meta deck. They're just a really good deck. So let's hop into the main. I'll explain my choices as I go. I play some unorthodox choices, so just because I'm not playing my Monarchs the way that you think they should be played, that doesn't make it any less of a Monarch deck, and that doesn't make me any less of an equal human being as you. I say that just to eliminate any of like the spiteful, malicious comments that I might see. So let's go ahead and hop into it. We're playing 3 copies of Idea. She's the best starter card in your deck. If you don't have a Monarch in your hand, she's not going to do much. So we do have a problem solver in our main deck that we've made in modifications as far as the ratios go, so that we're not opening with our starter cards that give us the tribute fodder we need without monsters to tribute summon. We also play 3 copies of Idols. What better way to pair your Idea than with summoning an Idols and getting that additional tribute summon during the turn that he was summoned, which is really cool. So Idea and Idols, you're always going to see 3 of each of them in every Monarch deck. What's changed with my list is nobody plays Mithra, and if I ever see her played, she's at 1, but a lot of people don't play her at all. So my game plan for playing Monarchs, this is an update for my Monarch hand control. The most recent list I did with Monarchs is hand control, because I find if the deck's ever going to be competitive, hand control is going to be one of the top 5 best routes to take. And me personally, just from my personal experience playing the deck, I find that hand control is the best way to play it. You're trying to get a 3-card hand loop on your opponent, and you're trying to still have domain, so they're trying to break your domain lock with only 3 cards in hand, which is nuts. But in order to do that, you have to consistently get 2 tribute summons every single turn. So we have to maximize on cards like Mithra, because if you don't have Idea and Idols, you need to be able to resolve Mithra to tribute your Monarch, trigger return, and then return will get you your other body that you need if you didn't already have it, and you have that additional tribute summon for that turn so that you can do the hand loop that I'm going to discuss when we get deeper into the profile. The other added bonus about Mithra is she's so insane in the Sky Striker matchup for the literal simple fact that you reveal her in hand, summon a token to their field, and then special her. They can't Widow Anchor anything. They can't. They're going to have a token before she even hits the field, which is nuts. Mithra is really powerful, you guys. I find that she's one of the better vassals. There's a lot of vassals you can play, but I just find that outside of Idea and Idols, she's the best one, and I love her at 3. You can't change my mind. You can throw a gigantic 3,000-word paragraph about why you feel Mithra's bad and why I shouldn't play it, and I'm still going to play 3 Mithras at the end of the day, so I just recommend that you just save your time. And then we have 3 copies of Danger Dogman. Dogman is just like Idea, Idols, and Mithra. He's just going to give you a tribute fodder on field. Also just conventionally gives you the draw power that you need. Outside of him having Monarch stats, that's not the only reason for playing him. He actually gives you the additional tribute fodder that you need. And a lot of the times, you have a ton of Monarch spells and traps that need to be in your grave. Because there were scenarios where I was able to get the double summon, the extra tribute summon, but I couldn't get an extra body on field. Dogman conveniently discarded my Prime Monarch in my hand, and I banished a Monarch spell or trap from grave to special it. And then I got the other tribute that I needed, which was really awesome, you guys. Because Dogman was like, he just made the whole hand lie, put it that way. So he's really good. And these are all our enablers. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to go the on the mathematics side and the probability and statistics of playing Cosmos. So the way I look at these, just hear me out, because I have a really good concept for this deck, is these are the pilots. So we play 12 pilots, right? And the thing is with Monarchs, with Cosmos, and if you're a Cosmo player, you can relate, you can't play unless you have both a pilot and a ship in hand, right? Well, it's the same thing with Monarchs. You can't play unless you have a starter card that gives you the tribute fodder in the first place and the tribute summonable monster. So I wanted to play an even ratio on both so that I don't open with a hand with too many of one and not enough of the other. So I played 12 of these starter cards, and then I play 12 Tribute Summon Monarchs. And that's how I play my Cosmos as well. I normally try to make the amount of pilots that I play almost as much as the big ships that I play, so I don't ever draw a hand of too many big ships. But obviously in Cosmos, you do want to play more big ships than you play pilots, because the big ships are what's going to give you a grind game. But with Monarchs, you can't play unless you have the tribute fodder in the first place. You can draw all the tribute summon monsters you want, but if you can't tribute summon, meaning if you don't have additional bodies that extend on the field, you're not going to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! So it actually validates why I play 12, and people say, oh, no, that's too many. Bro, I've had too many bad experiences literally in the years that I've been playing Monarchs, where my brick hands are because I had Monarchs, but I couldn't tribute summon. Not because I had Eidos and Ideas and I couldn't tribute summon, because I've always played a great ratio on the tribute summon monsters. So anyways, we're playing 3 copies of Erebus, 2 Thessalos, and 1 Baby Thessalos. The reason why I'm still playing the Baby Thessalos is actually because there's no way that you can trigger the Mega Thessalos off of return and search a copy of itself. So this is part of the hand control that I'm talking about. So the game plan for this deck is you're playing basically a hardcore going first Monarch deck, and that's normally what it is. Monarchs are okay going second, but they're best going first. They're better going second with Stormforce, don't get me wrong. Now they can play better going second, but the game plan is you're trying to consistently get to your return as quickly as possible and enable a double tribute summon while simultaneously getting your escalation. So there's a lot of setting up that you need to do, so you really need to go extremely, and I'm talking about like, you have to go extremely hard on your setting up and the ratios on what you play, because you have to do a lot of the math based on how many cards you play in your deck and how often you're going to draw the cards. So the game plan basically is, to sum it up in short words, is you want to resolve Erebus to rip a card out of your opponent's hand, getting an additional tribute summon off of Mithra, which is amazing. Mithra is the main route to go. Triggering return. Return's gonna return's basically gonna get you your Thessalos if you didn't already have Thessalos in hand. But the main thing is, because you play 3 Erebus, it's beautiful that you open with Erebus so often. So when you have Erebus already, you're just gonna go for Thessalos first. You're going to use Thessalos' effect. Look at your opponent's hand. You're going to clean a card right out of it. If it's a monster, you get to burn. So Thessalos is amazing in time. You're going to trigger your return. Return's going to search this. You use your additional tribute to tribute him to go into Erebus. Erebus is going to rip another card off your opponent's hand, and you already have public knowledge. Not public knowledge, but you already have knowledge of what's in their hand. And then your escalation on your opponent's turn can then tribute the Erebus to summon the Baby Thessalos. That's for the hands that come up where you already have Thessalos and Erebus. Now, if you for some reason had it in a different way, where Thessalos was the first one that you summoned and you already had Erebus in hand, then you don't even need to search this, because what you can actually do is you could search, like for example Aether, then you could tribute the Thessalos to summon the Erebus and then trigger return and use return to search out the second copy of Thessalos that you can use on your opponent's turn via escalation of the Monarchs. And Aether is already going to have her own way to tribute summon herself during your opponent's turn. So I hope I'm explaining it right. I hope you don't really get confused, but that's the long story short. That's the 3-card hand loop, because you do 2 on your turn and once more in your opponent's main phase via escalation. Because they have priority, they get to commit a couple cards first, but that makes it even better, because once they commit 1 card, you're going to rip another out their hand, and that makes it even worse, because the less cards they have in hand, the more prone you are to hit a better card. So yeah, these are the main Monarchs that you want to be tributing on your turn. Thessalos is a crazy card, hitting evenly matched, hitting some of the best hand traps that, you know, if you're open with Thessalos first, you can just hit the hand trap that would have stopped your plays in the first place, or the, like, you know, for example, the evenly matched, or let's say they had like engaged in their hand, or just something really good. And also the fact that you can just win games in time in your main phase by burning your opponent via Thessalos. And then we play the 1 Aether. Thank God for Aether. At least she's at 1, man. The fact that she's at 1 is what still keeps the deck pretty solid in the terms of disruptive plays, because Aether plus Stormforth is just, it's still insane. And because Aether's searchable and Stormforth is at 3 and it's searchable, it's a lot easier to get to your Aether and your Stormforth in the same turn. And that allows you to just tribute one of your opponent's monsters off to get your Aether. You know, you tribute one of your opponent's monsters off and you tribute your Prime Monarch, get your Aether out, or you just literally contribute anything you need. But you normally Stormforth one of your opponent's monsters, get that out, and then there's cool plays that you can make with Droll if you're playing Droll, where you can actually draw your opponent and then you resolve Koraz, kill their cards, and they don't get to draw. But like that interaction doesn't come up because I don't play Droll. But Aether is just still nuts, you guys. She's a power play, and she gives you the follow-up of whatever you special off of her is going to go back to your hand, and that's going to help you for your OTK push next turn. we're playing the 1 Karaz. It's still correct to play at least 1 because it's one of the best targets for Aether, and especially when you're trying to unbreak your hands. Because even, it doesn't matter how many like incredible cards that you play unless you just literally throw in like 20 dangers. This deck has a tendency to brick, and that's just the simple mechanic of how Monarchs are. The deck is going to brick no matter how good you make your list. Brick hands will come up, and that's where Aether and Karaz are really good at, because being able to circumvent some of the cards and just filter, kill the bad cards and draw 2 fresh cards, it really helps you out. I still am a firm believer in Mega Caius, because Mega Caius can actually burn and clear multiple cards at the same time. It can banish 2, and if you happen to banish a card that your opponent plays 3 of, you actually just get to banish all the copies of it, which is really cool. So I think Mega Caius is just so powerful, you guys. And because Geist and Strikers are still pretty solid in the format, and they're going to see a lot of play, they're still really popular, I decided that Mobius was a really strong choice for the main deck, because he can just target up to 3 spell traps cards on the field and destroy all 3 of them, which is just so redundant, actually, if I do say so myself. And I mean just stupid in a bad way. But I also still play Double Vanity's Fiend, because while the domain lock is really powerful, you know what breaks the domain lock so easily? Dino Wrestler Pancratops. And it's not like Pancratops is not a popular card. So when you have Vanities, it's stronger than domain lock, because Pancratops can't out of Vanity's Fiend, but Impermanence can. So there's ways that you can play around it. But when you get Vanity's Fiend and domain, that's when they have to have a very specific opening, especially because you normally resolve Thessalos to look at their hand, and if they had the Evenly, you would snipe it unless they drew it as their 6th card. And keep in mind that you can always summon this via escalation, so if you want to do the 2-card hand loop, you can do that and then make a Vanities on your opponent's turn, which is still really cool, especially because you're always going to have domain. So we have the 12 big guys and the 12 starters. And Foolish Barrel Goods can actually put an, a floater monster on field, being the Prime Monarch, for you to get Tribute Summon fodder. So don't think that these 12 are the only ways that you can get Tribute Summon fodder. And then we're playing 3 copies of Domain of the Monarchs. We're still playing Domain Monarchs because I think that this is the most competitive way to play the deck. Being that the deck can't spam as consistently as other decks can. You can't turbo out Link monsters and stuff like that. So because you can't really do that, you want to deny your opponent the right to do that as well. It's only fair. You want to simplify the game state, make them play at your pace. And we have 3 copies of Stormforth. Stormforth is actually part of the lock, which is really good. So Domain and Stormforth is just really strong, especially opening with both in hand. And then we also play 3 copies of Tenacity. You really need to see this spell right here, the 3 returns. The returns are probably the most integral part of this deck if you want to do the hand loop. If you can't see a return, you have to literally hard draw the cards that you need in order to do it. And that just is, it's too reliant on luck and RNG. So maximizing on any way that you can possibly see this is what's really imperative. That's why we're still playing double Foolish Barrel Goods, because you could just dump Pantheism, reveal 3 returns, and you're going to get one because you just revealed 3 of them. Speaking of, we play the 1 Pantheism. And then we also play the 1 Rhoda and the 1 1-for-1 just to act as extra copies of Idea, because Idea is really nuts if I do say so myself. The other cool interactions with Idea is that normally you end up running out of targets. Like if you only play Idea and Eidos, there is a time that's going to come up in the middle of your duel where you banish an Eidos and you summon an Idea, and you're not able to summon another Eidos from deck because they're gone. But you can still summon a Mithra from your deck because I play more Vassals. And when you tribute that Mithra, you're going to get an extra tribute summon. So playing Mithras do solve other problems too in the grind game. And don't forget, Idea is just broken, you guys. Just adding back your Pantheism and getting more draws. So yeah, I really think that Mithra's a correct card to play, but you know, you can crucify me for not playing Monarchs the way you play it, or you can just accept the fact that everybody has different mindsets and there's more than one way to play a deck. And the last cards in the main deck are going to be 2 Prime and 2 Escalation. I was really prone to playing 3 of either one of them, but the problem with playing traps in this deck in general, especially because you need a lot of turbo cards, is they don't do anything for you turn 1. They're not going to progress your game state any further than what it already is. And in fact, oftentimes, if your hand wasn't good in the first place and you drew one of these, it just made your hand that much worse, and it almost becomes unplayable. So I had a good reason for playing just 2 of each, and they're very searchable. You have a decent amount of draw power to see them as well. But what the most integral card is not going to be Prime, it's going to be Escalation. So normally, you're trying to get Escalation in return as quickly as possible. And that's the main deck. I don't have a side deck yet for it because I'm currently playing other decks competitively, but I'm definitely going to be doing some more experimenting with my Monarchs. I have to keep testing it with, because so far it's only really strong against like specifically Sky Strikers. I've had more success against Sky Strikers than I've had against Thunder Dragons and against Geist. But like Sky Strikers, yeah, it's really strong against Sky Strikers, you guys. I've had immense success against them. My grind game is just so much more powerful, and Domain just literally just the domain lock in itself, they have to use Afterburner. And if they use Afterburner and they clear your lock, you still rely solely on escalation, just dropping that Vanity's Fiend on their turn and locking them out even further. There's a lot of ways that you can out-resource them too, but you have a toolbox that just tells Sky Strikers that they can't play the duel. I'm sorry, that they can't play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, that's my Monarch list. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Definitely stay tuned for future content. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay positive, you guys. And definitely, I hope that you guys can kind of see that there are so many ways that you can play Monarchs that there's no reason that you should ever let somebody how to play your deck. Like, don't ever let anybody tell you how to play your deck. I recommend you figure out your own way to play, and if it worked for you, hey, then that's a build right there, right? All right, so peace out, you guys. Have a beautiful night.